Hello and welcome to Casio number 7 tutorial. And today we are doing tone editing again, but this is tone editing for just the piano. And I've had a lot of requests for the piano that I created on here, so I'm going to show you how to create a much more mellow piano than what's the standard tone that comes with the Casio. Now, the standard tone that comes with Casio is this, which is really a fine piano for rock playing. It's bright and it's great for playing rock, but when you want to play really mellow, for a piano player, it's not very good. And if you saw the second part of my Casio review of these keyboards, you will see a detailed review on the piano, so you can go back to that and review that too. But I made a piano that's very soft and very romantic, and a very nice one to play slowly. So I came up with this piano. It's mellower, it's softer. It's much longer sustain, much softer, but still has all the detail in it. And I did that by editing two pianos, layering them together, editing the two together in the mixer to come up with the best piano that I could for this tutorial and to recreate what I did before. So this what we're going to be doing is pretty much the same as the tone editing tutorial I did, except this is going to be specific for piano, and we're going to really fine-tune this as best we can. So what I did is, here's the layers. What I did is I took, to simplify this even more, both layers are the 001 stereo grand piano. It's just each one's been edited and saved so that now they're completely different. So here's layer 1. And here's layer 2. Layer 1. You can see layer 1 is very mellow, and I have a lot of extra sustain on it and a lot of extra reverb, so it's kind of in the background. So when you put the two together, you end up with this. So I got one brighter one for the detail and one mellower one for warmth and for sustain. So what I'm going to do is, again, we're going to focus in on the display because it's all about the display. if you haven't seen tutorials 1 through 3 at least, you won't know what I'm doing, because I'm going to be telling you what buttons I'm pushed, but you have to know where the buttons are, so you don't want to start learning this keyboard on tutorial number 7. So today we're going to be using the navigation controls, the function yes/no controls, data wheel, mixer, tone editor. We'd be saving in the tone editing banks too. So let's get started by zeroing in on the display. Okay, and here we go. We're going to start the editing process. What you're hearing is the factory preset. As you can see, it is A001, and as a factory preset, of course, it can't be edited. The only thing you can hear is in edited sounds is when they are stored in your user tones, which is the K category, and there is a K. There's a different one there. So we're starting from the very basic of the Casio here. We're starting with just a plain 001 stereo grand piano. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the effects mixer, and we haven't done that in a while. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold down the function key and not release it and press the mixer button. If you look under the mixer button, it says F in parentheses plus, and that means you're holding down the function key, pressing the mixer button, and getting to a different place in the mixer. The mixer is a very complex thing on here. I've gone over it many times, and I'm going to actually go over it a little more today. Now when you press this mixer button, you can see we ended up on here, this 1/3 says effect. Now it's going to end up on effect, but there's 3 pages in here, and this is telling me 1/3. I'm on page 1 of 3. If I take my right navigation arrow, I now move to page 2 of 3 and page 3 of 3. And those are the parameters we have for this effects part of the mixer. And the only part we're going to be dealing with is on page 1 of 3 is the reverb type. And this is where we can select different reverb types. There's a very long, that's the longest reverb that this has, and then you have the off, which is the shortest. So we have all these options in between. And today we are going to be using option Hall number 2. And this sets the overall reverb type, but we can also set reverb levels. So even though this is Hall 2, I can make it a much deeper, richer reverb by adding to the reverb level. And there's a number of options in that parameter from 0 to 127. And that's all we're going to do for this part of the effects part of the mixer. So we're going to use the exit key to get out of here and return to our top main menu. So all we've really done is set the reverb type so far. So now we're going to go into tone edit, and before we do that, of course, we want to, at the very beginning, is you want to select the kind of bank that we're going to be dealing with, and you're going to want to store. And today I am on bank 16, registration 2. And so on bank 16, registration 2 is where I'm going to put everything. You have to start that because all the edits we do in the mixer, in the effects mixer, and the layering we do, all has to be stored or you're going to lose it. Now you won't lose your edited tones, but there's a lot of mixer settings we're going to be making and reverb settings, and you're going to lose all of that. So we want to make sure you remember where this tone's at, you're going to want to start a list of your favorite tones and a nice description of them. So this one for me is going to be written down as Bank 16, Registration 2. That's where I have a very nice piano. So now we're ready to begin the edit. And to begin editing, we're going to hit the Tone Editor button. And as you can see, we're in the Tone Edit. And we have the 1/8, which is again not a fraction, but telling us what page we're on. It's telling us there's 8 pages right now, and we're on page 1 of 8. So now we're going to begin editing. And we're going to begin editing our first piano tone, 001 grand piano. And we're going to make this one the mellow layer. So we're going to do this with an attack time. We're going to bring that up to a +10. Then we're going to release time, and we're going to make that a 29, a +29. Then we're going to scroll down and go to the next page. You can do that by either the right arrow or the bottom arrow. So we're going to cut off. And for this one, we're going to mellow it out by going to a -40 on the filter. So you can see already we're getting quite a bit different. Vibrato, of course, there's not going to be any vibrato on a piano, so we're skipping vibrato parts here. I'm scrolling down with the lower arrow. Octave shift is going to remain the same. Volume, we're going to keep that at 127, but we're going to adjust it in the mixer later. Touch sensitivity is at the maximum touch sensitivity. Reverb send, we're going to again deal with the reverb send later, but right now we're going to set it at 40. We're going to skip chorus, modulation settings, modulation depth, and we're going to DSP. Now the last time we did a tone edit, we skipped DSP, but this time we're trying to make a very specific tone. So this time I need the DSP, and I'm going to turn that on. And as soon as I turn that on, you're going to see I'm on the eighth page of 8 pages. But as soon as I say yes to this off in the parentheses, I'm going to say yes in my yes button. It turns the DSP on, and now we have an additional 6 pages. So now we're on page 8 of 14, not page of 8. So we've extended the pages. So now we're going to scroll down, and first one we're going to pick is delay type, and delay type is going to be this number 10. Delay time we're going to set for 64. Feedback will be 0. The ratio is going to be 86 or 68 and 86. Wet level is going to be 4. Type is going to be 1. And reverb send we're going to set at 40. And the rest of these were the modulation button we're not using. And of course the rotary button that's used for the organ, of course we're not using that either. So now we've edited all of our 14 pages. I'm going to back up here. DSP reverb send is at 40. Type 1, wet level 4. Ratio 8668. Delay time 64, feedback 0, and delay type 10. So, I know that sounds pretty bad, but it's simply being layered together with the other one. But one thing you'll notice right now is I'm going to press this key down and watch how long it sustains. So now I'm going to have this warm layer that sustains about 5 or 6 times longer than the factory preset piano does. And that's the main reason you can play this piano slow and romantically, is because I've got such a nice long warm sustain behind it. Okay, at this point we're going to exit because we're done editing our first layer. And of course we're going to have to store it. And I want to store it, so I'm saying yes. And now we got to pick a place because it's going to default to 001. And I'm going to pick number 70 out of 100 places. We have 100 places we can store things. And of course you have to remember what you got stored, because you can overwrite it at this point. If you have something very important that you wanted stored at number 70, you would be overwriting it right now. So at this point, you have the option of using the down arrow, and if you see a little line under there, you can rename this to anything you want. But I found out in the past it's best to leave these as the same name so you know which tone which factory preset tone you actually edited. If you change the name, you really won't remember what it is. Now this is up to you. It might be more practical for you to rename it, but I'm not going to. So as soon as I press enter, it's going to store this new edited piano in 070 of my, and say, okay, saying, do I want to replace? I'm going yes. And now we have a brand new tone stored in our user category of, this is K, user category is K. So now we have our first tone and our first layer complete. So now I want to edit a second piano. And we're going back to the factory preset piano, so I'm pressing A, and we're looking for A001. So we're now going to edit this second layer, and this will be the brighter, more detailed one. So again, we're going into Tone Editor button, beginning the tone edit on page 1. And here we are back at the factory preset. We're going to set an attack time this time of +7. Release time is going to remain at 0. And we're still going to make this piano a little less bright. So we're going to use a cutoff of -7. Or, sorry, -12. Just to get that brightness off of there. And skipping vibrato types and rates. Vibrato delays, octave shift no, volume at the maximum, touch sensitivity at maximum. I'm going to put the reverb send at 70. And in this case, we're not, of course, no modulation settings. In this case, the DSP is off. So we're already done editing our second layer. There wasn't a whole lot to do other than we're making it less mellow. Now what I'm doing today is I am creating a piano for recording. This is not a piano to be played through the speakers. If you want to design a piano through the speakers, you may want to go back and and you may have to brighten it up or whatever to your taste. The speakers will make it sound different. I am using, again, studio quality headphones, so I am designing this tone under very neutral conditions. There's nothing neutral about the built-in speakers on this piano. If you use the built-in speakers for recording, you're going to be very disappointed with your recordings. You still need to buy a nice set of linear response studio headphones so that you can get a neutral response that isn't going to color your sound. So this, when we're done and you record this and you play it through a stereo speaker system, it's going to sound great. So we're done editing tone 2. That means I'm going to press the exit to get out of here, and of course it's asking me, do I want to store, because I've edited this tone, and of course yes, I do. And I want to store this in 71 right next to my number 70, the piano I did the first time. As soon as I press enter, it's going to ask me, do I want to replace what's on 71, and I say yes. And there we go, K071. There's our new edited tone, and there's 070. There's our other user edited tone. So now I want to put these in layers. So I've picked out K070. That's going to be my layer 1. So you can see there's no layer button turned on. We're on layer 1. As soon as I press the layer button, of course that's going to bring up a random whatever, and it randomly brought up mellow solid. And we're going to change that by going to the user tones, pressing user tone K, and I'm going to put my 71 in there. So now the layered tone is 71 and the first layer is 70. So for the first time you're going to hear these both played together. I hit my layer button, you can see layer box turned on. Both these tones are going to be played together now. Now that it's layered, I'm going to save this in my bank and registration. So I'm pressing to my store button, holding it down, pressing my 2. So now that I'm stored on 16.2. So bank 16, registration 2 now has my layering on. That's 71 and 70. Now we've completed the layer editing. So we're going to further edit this just like we did when we did the tone editing. In the mixer section we can go ahead and further edit this. So I'm going to the mixer by hitting my mixer button. Now remember, when you hit the mixer button, it ends up, it's displaying wherever you left off. And I'm going to do a quick review, really quick this time, because I've reviewed this twice now, but this mixer is so confusing I feel like I need to review it every time I use it. So I'm using my navigation buttons, and I am moving the left arrow, because the left arrow takes me through all the mixers until it doesn't go any farther. I'm still pushing my left button, nothing happens. On the far left, it's the external mixer. Now when I hit my right arrow, I'm going to go through the 4 separate sections of this part of the mixer. Now there's another section that we did at the beginning that was the effects section, but that isn't accessed by the mixer button. It's accessed by the function plus the mixer button as written underneath the mixer. So if you want to think about it, there's actually 5 mixer sections. You have the F, the function plus mixer button, where you get the effects, and then you have the 4 that's in here. So I'm using my right arrow key, and you're going to see it going from mixer external to mixer DSP to mixer master, and to the final and fourth that has the most control, that's the mixer part. And as I continue to hit my arrow, my right arrow, you can see it going through all the channels. And I hit my left arrow and it's going back. So as soon as I hit my left arrow after being on one time, it automatically goes to that third mixer. So bringing my right arrow underneath the 1. So in the mixer settings, we're going to, number 1 is our mellow piano. If I hit my right navigation and go to the second channel, that is our edited brighter piano. So on number 1, again, this ends up wherever you left off, so it doesn't end up in the same place. In this case, it ended up on volume, but if I use my up arrow keys, I'll go to the top level of this mixer, which is displaying the name and number of the sound. So if I use my right arrow and go to number 2, you'll see K071, that's the saved bright piano, and K070, but we didn't rename them, so they both say stereo piano, and that's up to you whether you want to rename those or not. But I'm just looking at my number, and I remember that the 070 is my mellow, long sustain, and number 71 is my brighter for my layers. So now I'm going to use the down arrow and start with part. Of course, I want the part on. Only options there is on and off. Volume. Volume on my mellow layer is going to be maximum volume of 127. Volume on the second brighter layer is going to be balanced down a little bit. So I'm bringing that down to a 119. It's not a whole lot of difference. Now at this balancing point, this is where you can balance it between if you're using your speakers or your headphones or whatever you got your whatever listening device you're doing. This is kind of a nice place where you can balance it, and you may not have to do any editing either. If the piano's too bright, just bring down this second layer. Let's show you what that means. I'll bring this layer up to down there both. Okay, so I got it way down. Now, of course, again, you can't hear both pianos at the same time, both layers. I have to get out of the mixer to do that. So that's a lot less bright than my intentional setting. I'm going back to the mixer, bringing it back up to the 119. Getting out of the mixer so we can hear both layers. So by adjusting the brightness, or by adjusting just the volume of layer 2, you might be able to get a different brightness setting for whatever you're listening to. So let's go back to the mixer and finish up. So volume is done. Now we're going to pan, and what I did is give it a stereo image by using a -29 on the first layer. And on the second layer, we're going to channel 2. That's a +29. Next, we're going to we're not doing a coarse tune, of course, but we are going to do a fine tune. So I'm moving back to channel. I'm going to use my navigation buttons. You watch the arrow underneath these buttons here. Channel 1. Going to fine tune channel 1 to a -2. It's not a whole lot, but it's just enough to give it just a little bit of detuning so that it sounds richer and fuller. Then I'm going to channel 2 and I'm going to tune that up to a +2. There's no bender range for a piano. I mean, you can use it, but And now we're on the we're going to skip the DSPs off. We're going to do the reverb send. So channel 1, reverb send is going to be maximum at 127. Channel 2 is our brighter layer. That one's going to be all the way down to 70. And the rest of the mixer settings we're not using. Chorus, scale. So here's our reverb settings, our fine tune. You can see the little changes there. You can see the pan changes. That in the center is unchanged, and as it goes down it's left and it's right. So you can see channel 1 and 2, the two layers are being panned left and right. And let's see. And we got the volume set now. Channel 1 slightly different than channel 2, and the parts are turned on. And that's it for the mixer settings. I press my exit button, and now I have to do, I'm holding down my store button, hitting my registration. I have to store that, or as soon as I hit another bank or registration, it will erase everything and just overwrite whatever's in the next bank. So now I'm all saved. So my bank and registrations have saved all my mixer settings. And they've saved my layer settings and anything else that you want to do that we haven't done today. So now we have our completed edited piano. So what you're listening to is the two edited layers together along with the mixer settings, making for a beautiful, long, sustained, softer piano from the factory preset. And that's what I played for you at the beginning of this video. Is this setting? So if you match these settings and you have and you want to record this for to be played on a stereo, it's going to sound very nice. Now, of course, whatever you're listening to my tutorial on in YouTube, if whatever that listening device is, if you record it and play it through that listening device, it'll sound just like the YouTube video. But like I said, when you set your piano up in the parameters that I've just given you, when you play it through the speakers, you may not like it. It may be too dull or it may be too bright. Depending on your taste, depends on everybody's ears are different, and everybody's taste in what the piano should sound like is different. So if you don't like the sound, you can first go back to the mixer and adjust volumes by bringing up or down channel 1 or 2. Channel 1, of course, is your first layer, channel 2 is your second layer. And if that doesn't work enough, then you'll have to go back and you'll have to re-edit one of your sounds. And K71. So my K070 is that really long, sustained, mellow sound. And of course 71 is the brighter piano. And then layered together, they sound like this. And I'm on a 76 note keyboard today, that's WK7600. So let's extend the keyboard down so you can hear the lower note here. That's a low C on a 88 key piano. And I'm going to return this back to normal. As you can see, we still got brightness in the top. And of course, you'll need a sustain pedal hooked up to your piano to actually make this all work. It's impossible to play piano slowly and romantically without a sustain pedal. And that's the tutorial for today. I hope everybody's happy with this piano, and if they're not, they can just make minor adjustments to make it something they can really use. Thank you very much.